Welcome to the Ananda podcast. I'm Sammy.
And I'm Dylan. If you are on a journey to becoming the best version of yourself,
and you want to create a life beyond your wildest dreams, you're in the right place.
Let's dive in.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Ananda podcast. Today we have my dear friend Sheena Brady. She's the founder of Tease Wellness, an award-winning tea company dedicated to holistic health. After a decade in the high-pressure coffee culture of the hospitality industry, in 2013, she launched Tease, blending functional tea and botanicals to inspire intentional self-care rituals. As a committed social entrepreneur, Sheena has raised over $300,000 to empower women-owned businesses through her Founders Fund. Today, Tease serves a loyal global customer base, all while Sheena continues to advocate for women in entrepreneurship and support them in blooming their very best lives. Welcome, Sheena. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Yay.
You're also a fellow Dragon's Den alumni.
I am. Yes.
And an Ottawa local business.
Right?
Yeah.
Look at us go.
It's
Go Ottawa,
so great.
Right?
So great.
This
Okay,
government
so
town can put out interesting things every now and then.
Absolutely.
yeah, cheers to
Just-
that. Like
Yes,
seriously,
cheers to that.
We've got a mix of your blissfully blue tea, which pairs perfectly with
Black cherry.
shroom soda, black cherry, or
That's a
like
good one.
lots
They're
of
We
different
do this
ones.
mocktail when we do events and people are,
They're lit up, right?
they love it.
Yeah.
They're obsessed.
Love it.
Okay, let's dive in. Let's start with like number one, how all of this started for you, because your
Yeah.
story is awesome and inspiring. So we'll start there and then we can flow with it.
Sure. So as you alluded to, I was very much subscribed to the hustle culture and coffee culture, maybe being, part of the cliche elder millennial I am. But my previous life was in luxury hospitality. It was my dream to own a restaurant one day. Went to school for the thing, worked in New York City, worked in San Francisco, worked in Toronto, worked in luxury hotels, Michelin star restaurants. And if anybody listening has ever worked in the hospitality industry, it's a grind. It's like nights, weekends, holidays. I was clocking in like 60, 70 hours a week sometimes. And to get through those shifts during the day, I would have like 7 cups of coffee a day. Okay. And then at night I would have wine to fall asleep, and it was rinse and repeat. So obviously, spoiler alert, that did very little to help with my already existing anxiety, insomnia, and digestion challenges. It only amplified those things. But that journey nonetheless led me to this beautiful hotel called the Shangri-La in Toronto as part of the opening team. I was thought I'd get my hands on the wine menu because, fun fact, I'm actually a professional wine sommelier from my hospitality background.
Cool.
Thank you. But I was told I wasn't good enough. I was told, hey, we have a master's sommelier in training, so we want you to make the tea menu. And I remember thinking at the time, like, that is such a belittling task, but okay, cool. I'll get some Liptons, I'll get some Red Rose, and we'll call it a day. Because you have to keep in mind, like, I didn't even drink a sip of tea in my life by this point, right? And then I was very quickly told, like, no. Shangri-La is basically the 4 seasons of Asia. And it's in our roots to, like, having this gesture of tea is so much more than tea. It's a gesture of hospitality, of connection, of community. And we want you to actually curate 75 different teas from around the world. And we want you to implement cultural tea ceremonies with the service team so that if people were coming from Japan, Morocco, Russia, England, they could all have a tea ceremony reflective of their home culture.
Wow.
Yeah, but like I didn't even drink tea at the time.
That's what a task.
Right? No big deal. So I knew in order to walk the talk, I'd have to actually become educated about the world of tea. So I found the Tea and Herbal Association of Canada, and I went on an 8-month journey to become a professional tea sommelier, which is a real thing, believe it or not. And so really I did it just to, prove a point that I can deliver on this experiential, PR-worthy, world-class program. And I did the thing. But what I didn't expect was to actually fall completely in love with the world of functional tea and botanicals along the way. Because as you can appreciate, however you're feeling, there's a tea or botanical for that. And so next thing I knew, instead of reaching for that 6th or 7th cup of coffee or the wine at night, I was reaching to like yerba mate to get energy without the crash or jitters, or in the evening valerian root to have a good night's rest. And so that's really the origin of teas. It was very much not even a side hustle in the early days. I can't even call it that. It was like a creative experiment. It was like a creative passion. It was a spark when my soul was kind of getting sucked out of me a bit in the hospitality industry, frankly. And it just grew from like this creative escape into a side hustle, into, well, frankly, like here we are almost 13 years later, and I've grown the company from 0 to 8 figures with lots going on in between, but
Yeah.
that's the scrappy origin story.
Yay. I love
I
it.
have to imagine it's actually quite more interesting being a tea sommelier rather than wine. I mean, with wine, it's like, oh, this has a hint of smoke that nobody can actually taste unless you've trained for 5 years on this. Whereas tea, it's like there's a million different options, right?
Oh,
They
absolutely.
all have different benefits and different
Absolutely.
characteristics.
It is really a special thing. And I mean, thank God I jumped into entrepreneurship with something that I'm genuinely passionate about, because I really do think it's the only reason why the company's here like 13 years later. You know, to get out of bed every day, you've really got to enjoy
gotta love it.
what it is that you're putting out there in the world. And anyway, I couldn't be more happy that I accidentally fell in love with the world of tea and botanicals.
Well, thanks Shangri-La for the intro, right? Like,
I almost think that like a lot of people, they're so focused on planning their life, they kind of miss the little blessings that are sprinkled in to lead them on the path that's meant to bring about their fulfillment. It's like for your experience, you know, for a lot of people, they would have been mortified that they had to, you know, switch their life plan. Maybe they leave, maybe they find somewhere else to work, but you take this seeming roadblock and turn it into this opportunity, and it transforms your entire life.
I think the universe, to your point, challenges us in very many uncomfortable, mysterious ways sometimes, because as much as we can thank the Shangri-La Hotel for giving me the gift of enjoying the world of tea and botanicals, that same hotel fired me. And I bring that up because it was the first time in my life that I'd ever felt disposable in an instant, right? And you have to remember, again, by this point, a decade in luxury hospitality. It's my life's work. It's still my dream to own a restaurant. This little tea thing was just supposed to be a special thing for me. And so when I got fired from the Shangri-La, I think most people in that situation, and you have to remember, like, I'm early to mid 20s at this point, making really good money, frankly. Like, I was the food and beverage manager of the lobby lounge by this point, you know, making almost 6 figures, like in my early to mid 20s. And I got fired. And I think most people in my shoes probably would have dusted themselves off and said, okay, I'll get another job in luxury hospitality. Hey, Four Seasons, like, I'm knocking on your door.
Right.
But instead I was like, wait a minute, my life actually isn't working for me. Like, I've just spent the last decade, blood, sweat, and tears into an industry that just made me feel disposable in an instant. The only thing that's lighting me up right now is this little tea thing, but it's not like really a real thing. It's not a real business. Like, what do I do with that? We all know we can't pay the bills overnight with like a little side interest, right? And so I consciously took, in my view at that time, 10 steps back to take a few steps forward. I left the hospitality industry, got a job in customer support at Shopify, $17 an hour. Okay.
Wow.
So, you know, quite a setback, like financially anyway. But at that time, like, I knew, okay, I'd be working remote. It was a clock in, clock out type of job, 7 to 8 hours a day. And what was interesting about that, also an interesting side effect about it, like the universe leading me down this path, it was my job to help people, like Shopify merchants, every day, right? Get a little bit better, faster, stronger with their business, with understanding Shopify. And the only reason why I got that job is because I had a Shopify store, okay? A very baby, tiny Shopify store. But it was so inspiring supporting them get a little bit better, faster, stronger. And I would see the success that some of these brands were having. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't have just like a little tea thing. I can blow this up. And so that was really a defining, incredible moment for me. And yeah, I just think the universe kind of led me down that path. So I worked at Shopify for a number of years as Teased grew into a side hustle, and then grew into, we were doing over $1 million a year by the time I quit Shopify many years later. And yeah, we've just been kind of nurturing it since.
So cool. It really is like, it's, you look back and it's like all of these dots connecting, but when you're going through it, you're like, what the heck is happening?
Oh yeah.
But then you look back and it's like, wow, if that hadn't happened, this wouldn't have happened, and that hadn't happened. It's all connected.
Yeah.
And it's bringing you to exactly where you are. And then it's like, now from here, what's next? But you're going to look back one day and be like, oh, wow, this happened because of this. And this, it's just wild.
Because like, I want to ask you, I think that people expect sometimes that if I feel like this is meant to be, then I'm not really going to have any real challenges. It's just all going to flow. It's all going to be easy. Like, things are going to work out. we actually talked to a founder yesterday who was like, oh yeah, like our first month we did 30K and then like we just kept growing and now we're doing millions of dollars. Like we're doing over 10 million a year. And I'm just like, really?
That's the exception.
Wow.
Yeah,
Like,
that is a very rare exception. And I would argue that you actually need friction and therefore sometimes stress is a side effect of that friction to kind of propel you forward. As cliche as it sounds, sometimes you really do need to sit in incredible discomfort in order to grow. Yeah. So I don't know who that founder is, but hey, props to them. But that's the very rare, exceptional 1%.
Yeah.
My experience.
So like through your experience so far growing your business, what's been your approach to overcoming obstacles and challenges? Because, people listening, maybe they own a business, maybe they're thinking about, following their bliss and starting something, but, one obstacle comes in their way and they get discouraged.
Yeah.
What's been your philosophy for that?
Just keep moving. Yeah. Again, I know it sounds so simple, but but simple is rarely easy, right? Like just keep moving through those moments of friction, those moments of challenges, those moments of setback. Like I've been here almost 13 years with this business, right? So we've seen a lot from the pandemic, like what that did to our business, to, oh my gosh, Canada Post going on strike not once but twice. Like
it was such a shit show.
Still, I don't even understand how our country allowed that to happen. But I digress. Through tariffs, like we've just seen and experienced so much hardship firsthand, and it ebbs and flows. And I think the biggest way to answer your question that we've kind of moved through those challenges is to quite literally like just keep moving, like one step at a time.
Can you share any examples? Because I feel like it's so different when you hear from a business owner the actual shit they go through. Yeah. Like not only as another business owner, but like as a customer. Because as a customer, like we're like, oh, you should do this. You should, like, we get emails all the time. You should do it like this. You should do it like this, right? And it's like, if it was only that simple, or like if you actually knew the whole story. And so I think sometimes it's nice to have like real concrete examples. Like, okay, during the pandemic, what the heck happened? What did you have to do? What did you have to change as a business owner? Give us your perspective.
Well, in the earlier days of Tease, I really romanticized this idea of like vertical integration and doing everything under one roof and having a lot of control and ownership over that. And so what I mean by vertical integration, like compared to where we're at now, a few years ago, we had like a 3,000 square foot space in the east end of the city, and we were hand blending all of our products. We're packing everything all under one roof. We're shipping everything under one roof. We're palletizing. We're doing everything all under one roof. And, I took a lot of pride in that. But then when the pandemic happened and the shutdowns happened, we went through this, looking back on it, insane time where I had to all of a sudden write notes for my employees to be able to legally leave their house to come to work, and compounded by, the lockdowns impacting consistency and having employees to, I would even go to bed at night, pandemic aside, but just in general, wondering, is there enough shipping tape? Is there enough Dawn dish soap? Is there enough toilet paper? Like these are not the things that are worth staying in a founder's mind if there are more efficient ways to grow the business. And so the pandemic really accelerated my all of a sudden this like awakening, like, wait a minute, just because we can do everything under one roof doesn't mean we should. And so we decided to shut down that warehouse by that full operation by 2021. And we completely went remote, and we're now hybrid. So we've gone from the extreme from fully remote to now hybrid, and leaning on like our trusted tea importers to actually manufacture our formulations at scale, and having them co-pack the formulations into the packaging and then shipping that to a 3PL instead of our own warehouse. And so that has really allowed us actually to grow more intentionally than ever, because we're not worried about all these other minute details, but frankly, like, I'm not a logistics expert. And so why was I so hung up about doing the logistics under my own roof? Like now we work with a 3PL that's been in the business for like 20 years. They should be. They are the experts.
Yeah. Totally. It like gives you freedom. And I think what a lot of people will never experience until they're a founder, and specifically like a product founder. It's so different when you like have a course or you run an event. Like that's still hard. But when you have to create a product, like a CPG product, there's so much that goes into it. There's so many more levels of complexity, and the amount of stuff that's in your brain
Oh yeah.
is insane.
Especially which, like, I don't know if you guys are starting to, I know you're in a lot of independent retailers, but once we started to intentionally get into retail, that was like, oh gosh, we just unlocked a whole other level of business complexity. And I learned the hard way very quickly. The hardest part isn't getting on a shelf. Plot twist, it's staying on a shelf.
Well, exactly.
And then, you know, I look back on like, thank God we don't do everything under one roof anymore, because I can't go to bed at night wondering if we have enough shipping tape when I'm like, wait a minute, we need to stay on the foods of whole shelves, or on the shelves of Whole Foods, sorry. And what are we doing to make sure that they're successful, that they have everything they need to act as like ambassadors when we're not around, and having consistent velocity, and, you know, making sure that, again, like our brain power is spent on really nurturing and growing key areas of the business.
Yeah. We've sort of had that issue come up with our business recently. We had a call with a decently large retailer here in Canada. They were knocking down our doors again and again, trying to get us to go in. We sort of made the commitment to ourselves, like, we're only going to be in small independent retailers. Like, we want to stick with small businesses. It's easier. They're like our biggest sales reps, you know, all that good stuff. But
I mean, like especially in the grocery world.
Yeah.
Grocery, and like, we're talking like, you know, Walmart, Loblaws, like Shoppers, like these big chains. Those are the ones we're more avoiding. But if it was like something like a Whole Foods, maybe that would be an exception, because it's not everywhere.
Well, they told us, they're like, yeah, so like, you know, if we do a purchase order, the product needs to be delivered within 24 hours, and if not, you get all of these fees associated with not delivering it.
Well, then they you know, they'll try and lure you in and be like, we want you in our local program, no shelf fees. But then once you're in, then you know, the next year they're like, surprise,
shelving fees.
Now there's shelf fees like $5,000 per SKU, like per quarter, and now you got to bring in demos, and it's a whole.
And you have to pay a certain amount of merchandising, marketing,
nightmare, right?
Absolutely.
It's
like I can't put that in my brain.
Like,
I don't want that.
Yeah.
But and I'm curious, you know, how do you deal with the ups and downs of business just psychologically as a founder? Because I know for me, you're going to have times of explosive growth. You're going to have lulls. You're going to have challenges. You're going to have twists and turns. And I think the mental aspect of entrepreneurship is the hardest.
Absolutely. I think it's important that you surround yourself with people who get you, which is hard, especially if you come from a family or circle of friends where maybe you're the only entrepreneur and you're like the black sheep of that group, for lack of better words, in terms of, you know, like my whole family is mostly like in the government, like especially on my husband's side. So like they don't really get what I do. Yeah. And so I've had to really go out of my way to find my own people. And frankly, like that's where Founders Fund comes in. Selfishly, like Founders Fund, I launched back in 2019 as a sister company to Tease that invests in women entrepreneurs. And it was, you know, somewhat selfishly, because by this point, you know, Tease had been around for 6 or 7 years, and I was still wanting this, like, this sense of community, like this sense of belonging, that being around people who just kind of get it. And by this point, thankfully, you know, we'd grown enough where I felt like we were in a position to actually create this type of sister organization. But at the end of the day, it's a community that I wished existed, frankly, when I first started my entrepreneurial journey like 13 years ago. And so, yeah, just surrounding yourself with people who get it, that you can just be your real, honest self with, and say like, hey, this is the stuff I'm going through. And they're like, oh, wait till you hear my version of that, you know? And I think like that it's a very healthy release to find those people.
I totally agree. Yeah.
There's this one story that I kind of think about, because like we've had so much growth over the past year, and obviously it's exhilarating, but then you have these massive challenges that come up. And there's this story of like this king, and I don't remember where I heard this, but he, you know, sent out to like the kingdom, you know, to all of his scribes and philosophers, you know, make me something that make me like a trinket or something, design me something that makes me happy when I'm sad and sad when I'm happy. So the wisest man in the kingdom comes to him a month later and brings him a ring, and it says, just this too shall pass. And it's just repeated in this circular on this ring.
I love that.
And so I think to myself, you know, as a founder, when things are growing and it's so exciting, like there's this tendency to think this is going to last forever. This growth is going to just, I'm going to have $100 million a year business. And like and sometimes you almost get too enthusiastic and you put too much money into hiring too many people, or too much inventory, or spend money here, or spend money there. And then there's other times where business is down and it feels like everything's a struggle. And it's like just remembering that this too shall pass, and kind of staying in that neutral. That's so hard for me.
It's hard. And I always say to founders, like, look, like it's not your responsibility at the end of the day to have a crystal ball. Nobody has a crystal ball. No one can predict that there's going to be a global pandemic, or that Canada Post is going to go on strike again, or that tariffs are going to rip through your business and have you question your entire existence as a company. We don't have a crystal ball. Yeah. But I do try to stress, even though you can't predict the future, it is so important that you are pivoting and you're being quick and agile. Like never sit in the status quo. Like to your point, never sit in all of that quote unquote growth happening right now, because you might have 2 bad months on Meta and you're like, shit, am I going to go bankrupt? Like I just put so much money in the incinerator, right? So always have an idea of like what's next and move through it. And when these wild circumstances happen that are frankly beyond your control, you've got to be quick enough to start adapting and be agile. It's the businesses that sit in the status quo thinking, yes, this too shall pass over time, but you have to have some action in parallel.
Exactly.
Because then otherwise, like you could just risk, I don't know, like more challenges happening, and then you're being super reactive and trying to get through it. So,
we talked a lot about being reactive on another episode with another founder, so that's a good tie-in. I want you to talk more about Founders Fund, because I think it's so inspiring. We're kind of celebrating International Women's Month on the podcast this March, so thanks for coming on as a female founder. But obviously, like, that initiative is driven to support women entrepreneurs. So I would love for you to talk more about just the meaningfulness, if that's a word, of like what that's given you to be able to give back. I know I got to be at one of the events recently, got to speak at one of the events, which was so cool. But yeah, I want you to just.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for speaking at our event. You provided so much value in that conversation for that day.
Thank you. It was fun.
So at Founders Fund, like we said earlier, we've raised and distributed over $300,000 in the form of microgrants, education, and just general like resources for women entrepreneurs. And it's interesting, like our grants they're not crazy. Like the largest grant that we've distributed one year was $25,000 to a single business. Now that is substantial, but generally speaking, they're anywhere between like $3,000 to $5,000, these micro grants that we've distributed over the years. And what's interesting is when we talk about the meaningfulness of it, is $3,000 or $5,000 going to magically transform your business? The answer is no, but it's about so much more than that. These are women who are applying for grants because they need a break, right? And they're like, I just need some type of signal that says that I'm not crazy, that this is a real business, and that I'm on to something. And that's really the meaningfulness behind Founders Fund. It's not me who's choosing who these grants go to. We have a separate selection committee that reviews like every single application, and then they narrow it down into like who those finalists are going to be for receiving the funding. And what's really cool about our grant program is that every single applicant, even if we get like 300 one season, every single applicant gets feedback from our selection committee. So even if you don't receive funding, you're going to get actual feedback and advice based on your application. Cool. And so with the when the funding is issued, what we hear time and time again when we're delivering the news is, this is the vote of confidence that means everything. Like I was just about to go to my husband and tell him like, oh, I don't know if I should do this business anymore because there's so much friction and it's taking me away from the kids, or, oh, I had a bad couple months in the business and I'm this close to throwing it in the towel. But because I received this funding, it's also a vote of confidence that I'm not crazy, that I am creating something meaningful, that it is impactful, that there is a long-term path to success here. And I think that is really the major hidden but important meaningfulness of Founders Fund.
I love that. I think that's so
supporting women in business
cool.
is so important.
Yeah,
I think that it's really important because I think that women are going to change the world. Because I think for thousands of years they've been suppressed. Men don't like to. Men do not like to admit it. They're like, they get. I talk to some like guy friends and they get really defensive. They're like, oh, I feel no guilt for what happened in the past. I didn't do it. I'm like, you have to realize that women are the reason why each and every one of us are here. They're the motherly, nurturing presence,
portal of life.
Portal of life. And for so long, women have been told that their place is in the home, raising children, that they don't have this value to give to the world, while men have gone about destroying it for the past 10,000 years.
Right.
And it's like now women are given the agency, they've claimed the agency to be just as valuable and more valuable in many ways than men.
Yeah.
And I think that it's so important for women to bring their energy into business, especially because look at the world that we live in. Here's the perfect example. Look at Jeff Bezos and look at his divorce and how his ex-wife has given billions of dollars to charity while he is investing all of his money on basically destroying the planet. She is investing her money in nurturing and giving back and making the world a better place. And that is the fundamental difference that I see between women in business and men in business in general.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, I think women, transform what it means to do business, to your point. I was labeled years ago as a social entrepreneur, a social enterprise business, and I didn't even know what that word meant. And I Google it. I'm like, oh, I guess it makes sense. We're a social enterprise. Like, we've got Founders Fund and we have these things about our values that are fundamentally important to us. But we were a social enterprise before I even knew what that meant. And going back to your original point, I think it just goes to how women inherently want to do business. We want to do business with an outward impact, not just an upward impact. And those are two
an inward impact. Like, it's not just for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas for a lot of guys, it's like, I want to make money.
Well, and how many women are starting wars, right? How many women are, creating multinational corporations that are destroying the environment? Like,
not
what
many.
Percentage? Like,
not
none,
a whole lot.
right? It's all the male ego, right? And I'm not here shitting on men. I am one. But it's like, I think that it's so important for women to have the courage to bring forth their gift and their creativity, because that's what is going to change the world. So you could look at something as mundane as teas or shroom soda, and it's like, that doesn't change the world, but it's like, it's the little inspiring nudges that it gives every customer, every message that we send out. That's what's going to change the world, is every person making their own little impact,
No, it's true. And I think, again, not to paint all women with the same brush, but again, inherently, if we look at this idea of women care more about building outwards versus just upwards or inwards, it also ties into, women inherently just care more about diversity and inclusion, frankly, right? Because of maybe our own adversities or challenges or whatever that might look like. And we also just want the best for our own children. And there's just something to that, right? But then that sounds like maybe for some on the surface, like, oh, that's nice in theory. But when we actually look at the data and we see the companies, the more diverse that they are, the more innovative they are, and the more successful they are. And therefore they end up generally being more profitable companies too.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important point, that, it's not just good on paper to do good in business.
Yeah.
It's good for your bottom line too, frankly.
Yeah. 100%. Oh, love that. Okay. Let's get into product, because we're both functional beverages, basically. Let's talk about how your process of choosing these different botanicals, and even the world of functional beverage. I think the reason we started Shroom Soda is seeing that people wanted something different. People wanted options that actually have these good ingredients for them and are not loaded with sugar and fake chemicals and preservatives and stuff. Obviously you have tea, but your tea is a whole nother level compared to most tea that people are reaching for. So talk more about the functionality aspect and how you kind of bring that to the table.
Yeah, it always starts with thinking okay, how does the average woman feel on any given day, and how does that fluctuate throughout the day? And so how can we create a product to kind of round out those wellness rituals at the same time, right? And so that's why, however you're feeling, we have a tea for that. That's quite simply what our value proposition is as a company as far as functional tea goes. And it's this idea of, again, not to slam coffee culture, because for the record, I still drink coffee every morning and then I move on to tea the rest of the day. But coffee as a culture is very much like this hustle, grab and go culture, right? It's oh, I got to get my fix so I can take on the world and get back to work and whatever, right? Or tea is so much more intentional. And so really our formulations are based around, okay, is it energy support? Is it stress support? Is it sleep support? And, how can we create this beautiful ritual for you to remind you that you are worthy to take 2 to 3 minutes out of your day to create that beautiful cup of tea, to watch the colors steep, to enjoy the aromatics, to enjoy the flavor of it, but then also obviously enjoy the benefits as well. And I'm biased, but like, even our packaging,
Very
No, it's
beautiful.
stunning.
Gorgeous.
is such a beautiful
It's stunning.
gift to yourself at the end of the
gorgeous.
day, right? And when
Like
you,
I have your product on display
I love that.
in my house, like I have mine and then I also have yours because I'm like, this is so pretty and they go
Yeah, it's
together so
stunning.
nicely.
Like even when it's empty, we just kind of keep it next to
Yeah.
her.
And it's like, yeah, it looks good on your counter. But also, I don't know if you noticed a fun little Easter egg, but this is so self-promotional. Okay, it's my quote, but it's not just me on the inside quotes of all of our packaging. It's someone different on each SKU. But on the inside, it's a founder from our Founders Fund community.
Oh,
and it's
I
an
love it.
inspirational quote from them. And it's this reminder of, when you invest in yourself, you're also through a cup of tea, you're investing in women entrepreneurs through our Founders Fund organization. And when you invest in yourself, you're better equipped to take care of the people and things that you care about most.
Yeah.
100%.
I love it.
I love it.
Well, they do go so well together. We're drinking it right now together.
Yeah,
And I feel like we can tease a little tease Ananda collab.
Oh, we're going to go there?
Yeah,
Okay, let's go
there. Guys, coming soon. Woo!
Yes.
How much are we saying?
I don't know. Like
Well, we
I-
can say whatever we want and just bleep it out for teasers if we want.
Okay, so
teasers.
because I'm going to say too much.
Okay, so basically you're gonna get a bleep that's gonna go bleep. No,
Well, for teas, I can say this is the first time that we've ever brought this type of product to life.
yeah.
And so I'm very excited to be doing this with Ananda. Like I couldn't think of a better partner to do it with. So for our teas customers, they've never seen anything like this.
Yeah. It's so exciting.
Yeah,
I can't wait. I can't wait to see how it tastes.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
I do want to say that I feel inspired with this collab that we're doing. I want a percentage of our profits to go towards your Founders Fund.
Oh, we'd love
So
that.
from this
love that,
podcast, just
yeah.
talking about this, I'm like,
Okay.
this needs to happen.
Yeah. I
So
love
Okay.
it.
we're
You're
going to be
the
donating
best.
part of, yeah,
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Let's do that.
Thank you. Okay.
That's a great idea. It makes me cry.
100%.
Okay, guys. So look out soon for this Tease Ananda collab that you're going to put in your tea. In your tea's tea.
Yeah.
Okay, let's we have a couple closing questions.
Yes.
Do kind of like a rapid fire. Number one, what does International Women's Month mean to you?
Oh, this is not a rapid fire answer for me. Okay, so I will walk it back and say this might be slightly controversial, but our team doesn't celebrate International Women's Day. We don't celebrate International Women's Month. We have a bit of a controversial opinion on it. We want women to be a part of the conversation 365 days a year.
Amen. Let's go. I love that.
And so we very rarely ever participate in things happening on International Women's Day or International Women's Month, unless it genuinely makes sense for us to do so. But actually, if International Women's Day falls during the week, historically, we've given our team the day off every year.
Wow, I love
And
that.
we give them the day off because we want them to have an opportunity to meaningfully reflect on what does International Women's Day mean for them, to your original question,
Yeah.
right? Our team in the past, some of them have been like, I'm going to go to the spa with my girlfriends. Some of them have, said, oh, I'm actually going to do some just like more historical research about, women's history in general. Some of them are like, Sheena, I'm just taking a nap. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I love that for you. Like whatever that is, you do you. And so that's something meaningful that we've done for our employees every year at Tease. They get the day off if it happens during the week because, it's important to remember that yes, there's been a lot of progress and success, obviously, in the pursuit of gender equity over the years, but there's still so much work to do. And I think before we start asking women to like be participate in a dog and pony show for International Women's Day or International Women's Month, let's make sure we're honoring their work in the first place,
Yeah.
and not just in the singular time of year.
Yeah, I love that. I actually got your email about that. So I was like, oh, I love this. Okay, so is there a moment in the past that you wish you had followed your bliss more?
Oh gosh. Yes. I think once you start to get some meaningful growth with your business, you start to think, kind of you said earlier, well, like what's next? Like, how do I continue this momentum? And then you start inviting opinions from many people, from maybe like mentors or people that you respect or whatever. And I think I paid too close attention to following some of their advice verbatim, when at the end of the day, like, they don't know my business better than I do. And I think it's really important to seek advice, seek support, seek guidance, but really develop a strong filter over time to know like which is just noise versus which you should follow.
I love that.
And I think I would have done a better job at following my own bliss in the past if I didn't put too much stock into the opinions of others.
Boom. 100%. That's great. A lot of people need to hear that, actually. Present, what does finding your bliss mean to you right now?
Okay. So this is going to really oversimplify the answer, but I'm really challenging myself anytime I'm asked to do something. Is it a hell yes or a hell no?
Love that.
And if it's a hell no, then I just don't do it. Sometimes I think we just say yes to things because we feel guilty or we have to. Like the other day I was invited to be on this panel, and like the topic wasn't necessarily anything I was super passionate about either. It was actually about like hiring and growth. Like it wasn't really that meaningful of a topic for me. It's an important topic for business, to be clear. But it ended up getting canceled because of the ice storm that we had, right? And my immediate reaction was,
yes,
thank God.
Yeah.
And that was a moment where I was like,
why was
Sheena,
I even doing
why
that?
did you say yes in the first place?
Yeah.
And so, yes, following my bliss today just means challenging myself more. Is this a hell yes or a hell no? And I'm far from perfect, but I've come a long way from how I used to say yes to literally everything and anything.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, for the future, what's next for you? How are you bringing more bliss into your life moving forward?
Yeah, I'm intentionally thinking about my new era. You know, I'm really proud that I've built Tease from, like I said, 0 to 8 figures, fully bootstrapped, no investors. And that is a grind. And I had this moment, 2 years ago where it's like, okay, if I really do want to continue to quote unquote blow this business up to the next level, I'll probably need investors. I'll probably need, to bring people on. And actually that was the advice that was given to me. And that's an example of, I shouldn't have listened too closely to that. I think this was in an era when we were glamorizing entrepreneurs for raising capital.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And then, the downstream effect of that is, you lose equity, you lose power, you lose say. It doesn't become your company really anymore. You dilute your own equity when you end up exiting. And so, my next chapter just looks like actually having nothing to do with raising capital. I have zero interest in having investors. I couldn't be more opposite end of the spectrum from what people told me to focus on years ago. And I'm just looking forward to the business pursuing its next chapter, ideally with my leadership and my vision. But it will change ownership at some point, but it will not be in an equity type of, raising capital structure where you just become an employee of your own company.
We are so on the same
I
page
feel like
as
we
you
could
with
talk
that.
for 3 hours. Right
Yeah, because like that's us too. Like we have a set of investors that are incredible, but
at the very beginning.
yeah, but like, and they're like a team, but other than them, we're kind of like, and don't you think women should be celebrated more for bootstrapping than raising capital?
Absolutely.
Right? Crazy.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Sheena.
Yeah,
this was
this is great.
incredible. We'll probably have to have a part 2
Yeah, we need to
later.
have a longer
Yes,
one.
we will.
Yeah,
I'd
this is
love
like
to come
this is
back.
like a rapid fire one, but we need like a 2-hour podcast.
All right,
There's a lot
let's
to
do
go through.
it.
Well, thank you so much. And stay tuned, everyone, for our little collab.
All right.
Thank you so much for listening. If this episode inspired you or made you think of someone, please send it their way. We would love for it to help them too, and it really helps the podcast. Follow along at Ananda Elixirs on social media. We can't wait to connect with you.